I just started the recording. So, guys, you're welcome to the call. This is our first meeting for this session, our first technical meeting. So, essentially, what we're going to be discussing today are the tools that we're going to be using. Mainly, we're going to just be discussing the tools, probably setting up our accounts with for all of the tools and everything that we need to work with. For both of you who are kind of advanced, I'm going to employ a slightly different strategy from the strategy I use for other cohorts. I'm just trying to take the initiative to pattern your sessions to what will be most beneficial to you. But let me first put it on the table and see if you guys are receptive to that idea. I want us to mainly do projects. Let us handle projects. Yeah. Since both of us have a little bit of advanced knowledge, we can simply begin to do various projects. Our goal is each project is going to be teaching us one skill or the other, or the skills we are supposed to learn. And by the time we've gone through 10 projects or 12 projects, which will span the duration of the program, we would have learned many tools, we would have built our repository, very very important, and we will be market ready, or long before then we will be market ready. While we are doing that, we will be sensitive to the market. We'll start running applications so that once any of us is able to secure a position, what I can guarantee is that the requisite skills for that position to be sustained, we have it in house. So if you get a job today and you don't have all of the skills required to execute that job, we can still collaborate as a team and ensure that you still meet the target and achieve everything that you're supposed to achieve. So that being said, I'm going to be discussing mainly four tools today, and I'll first start by asking which of these tools we are familiar with and how familiar we are with it, so that we would not rehash things that are already known, but we are going to focus on, learning about the things we are supposed to learn and getting over to the next one. We're going to be talking about Google Collaboratory. That's the first tool, popularly known as Google Colab. We're going to be talking about Jupyter Notebook. That's the second tool. We're going to be talking about Kaggle as the Kaggle platform. We're also going to be talking about GitHub, the GitHub platform, and we are going to be talking about the Zindi platform. Those are six items, and G Suite, Google Suite, the entire Google Suite as an application. So please, guys, let me start from the beginning, and we'll run through them one after the other. How familiar are we with Google Colab? Is it something we know about? Is it something we've used? Please, I want it to be interactive so that I would know the area to focus on.
All right, Prince, I'll just go first so that so
Okay.
among everything you mentioned, the only ones that I have very small knowledge on is Jupyter Notebook and Kaggle. And
Okay.
also I'd just like you to basically treat me like someone who doesn't know anything.
Okay.
Um I'm fine I'm fine being doing that. So
Okay.
that's it. Yeah.
Okay. It's okay, Chris. Thank you very much. Jay, what about you?
Actually, it's just on Kego that I'm familiar with, but the rest,
Okay, great. Great.
uh,
In that case, my plan to do that for only today may not work, because we may need more than a day to go through this thing in a way that we'll understand. So let me start from familiar territory, Jupyter Notebook. Now, Jupyter Notebook is a project that helps us to understand. Let me share my screen, please. Let me share my screen. So, okay, first and foremost, you can see my screen, yeah? Please confirm that you can see my screen, guys.
Yes, I can see your screen. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, first and foremost, to understand what Jupyter Notebook is, we'll need to first start from IDE. Um, I'm starting with programming because programming is an integral part of what we'll be doing. There is a bit of programming in every single thing. SQL is comprised of programs. When you're working with uh, the analytic tool Power BI, there's a Microsoft proprietary programming language that is called DAX that you will still use extensively. And then there's Python where most of the work is done. Now, Jupyter Notebook is what they call an IDE, that is an interactive developers environment. That is what IDE stands for. Jupyter Notebook is a preferred IDE for learning because it allows you to be able to do two things. It allows you to be able to write code and it allows you to be able to to comment on your code. Now, Jupyter Notebook and Colab are practically the same thing. The difference is that Jupyter Notebook runs on your local machine while Colab runs in the cloud. So as far as how they are used is concerned, there are very, very minor differences. So for the purpose of ease of use, I would work with Colab, and that is where we'll be doing most of our work. The reason why we will be doing most of our work in Google Colab is because Google Colab is a cloud platform. It has several advantages over Jupyter. Jupyter Notebook relies solely on your computer. It relies on your computer memory. So if your computer is 4 gig, it means that you do not have more than 4 gig for your RAM. However, if you are running your notebook in the cloud, Google allocates RAM to you, massive RAM. Then there is also every other cloud benefit you know. You can access your files remotely, you can manipulate your work from anywhere, even from your phone, from a device as simple as your phone, you can work on Jupyter Notebook. So that's on Google Colab. So that's a huge advantage. That being said, let me go to Google Colab. I will share this link to you so that you can further explore what Jupyter Notebook is. I'll share materials that covers all of that, Jupyter Notebook, Google Colab, and all. But for now, let me just concentrate on Colab. But just bear in mind that most of what you see in Colab is also in Jupyter Notebook. So I will start from the very beginning, assuming we know absolutely nothing. So this is a brand new tab. Let me share that new tab. So I believe you're seeing my new tab now, which is a brand new tab. If you want to access Google Colab, type Colab on your browser, collab.research.com. So once you click on it, Google Collaboratory opens. This is Google Colab, the collaboratory environment. Hmm? Now, because I have been working on Collab, I have a list of my recent projects, which is what is being displayed on the screen. If you're to open Collab right now, you will have absolutely nothing because you do not have any project that you have done lately. So you just have a blank sheet as your project sheet. I can open a new notebook by clicking on the bottom left where we have a new notebook, and then I'll start a fresh notebook. In the same vein, I can open any of these notebooks, which are my jobs that I have done in the recent past. Think of it like your regular Word documents. You have documents that you have just used in the recent past and they are listed there. Then you can open a brand new document and start typing from scratch. So think of it in the same vein. Now, to be able to explain Google Colab, I'm just going to run a quick practical session. But once you open Colab on your system afresh, and by the way, to use Colab, you need a Google account. It's a proprietary Google product. Yeah, you have all of these briefs about what Colab is about. So it tells you how Colab works and all of that. Very, very useful material for you to go through. and I will also share the links to some of these videos that will be helpful to you. But for now, let us open a new notebook. Another way to access a new notebook is to click on File. I can open a new notebook. I can upload a notebook from my computer. There are several things I can do, but in this case, let me open a new notebook. I've clicked on it, so it's opening a brand new notebook. Now, this is the collab environment. Huh? Now, the beautiful thing about Collab as an IDE, there are many IDEs. Some of them are tailored for professionals, some of them are tailored for academicians, some of them are tailored for beginners. Jupyter Notebook is a sweet um, IDE to use because it's very, very compatible for beginners, for advanced people, for intermediaries, and it's very good for academic work because you have the opportunity to explain what you're doing. Now, this is how it works. There are two types of cells. If you look at the far top left, where we have these two, you see there's a code and there's a text cell, plus code plus text. It's simply telling you add a code cell. The second one is add a text cell. Now, what is the difference between these two? A code cell, once you put anything inside a code cell, it treats it as code. Hmm? It treats it as code. So let me give a typical example. Let's run a very, very simple code. Let's say, Python also does regular addition. Let me use that. That is very, very simple and we can relate to. Then regular mathematics rather times 18. If I click on Shift Enter to run the cell, I get the the program runs 10 multiplied by 18 and it gives me the answer. So this tells me that Colab is running. Now, if you come here, let me show you what I was talking about. If I click on this, there's something I get to see. If I hover over this, can you see what's written there? It's telling me that I'm connected to a Python 3 Google Compute at the back end. So that is the version of Python that is running on my computer. Then look just below it. It's telling me that I have a RAM of 12.6 gig.
So
Now imagine
sorry,
that.
sorry, Prince. I can't.
Yes,
What you're
please.
saying now, I can't see. What I'm still seeing is the page where you said "Welcome to Collaboratory." That's what we're still seeing.
Okay, sorry, you're on the
Yes.
wrong tab. Let me switch. I'm so sorry,
Okay.
please, guys. When that happens, always notify me so I can correct it because I'm switching between tabs. Yeah. Okay. So what I did first, I did 10 times 18 just to show you how a code cell works. And it actually multiplied it correctly and gave me the answer as 180. Yeah. Then at the top right, this point, this is what I'm talking about. Look at what is showing there. Connected to Python 3 compute engine. So it's telling me that the version of Python that Google Colab is running is Python 3. Then
Excuse
look
Prince.
just below it.
Can
Hello?
you go back to the page before this one?
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Can you see the page?
Okay,
This
start
one.
from here. Yeah, start from here.
Okay. This is the introduction to once you open Collaboratory, this is the landing page. Hmm? So think of it as the home screen for Google Colab. Once you open Colab, this is where it brings you to. Now, if you have projects, it gives you a list of your projects. It it puts it right in front. Let me start again by reopening Colab. Yeah, let me just do it again so that we'll get that very straight because I expect that you guys, I will still share materials that will guide you on how Colab works actually. But first and foremost, immediately you open Collaboratory, what happens is that if you have projects like I do, I have over 100 projects in Colab. It lists my projects immediately. So all of these that you can see here are projects, and the dates at which I did the project, the last day I opened it, all of these are projects. Some of them are hosted on my drive, some of them are hosted on one account or the other, some of them are shared with me by other people that I collaborated with, etc. So these are all my projects, yeah, spanning all the way. Now, because you have not done any project, once you open it, this page will be blank, because you've not done anything. But as you begin to work on Collab, you begin to populate it. Now, I said to open a new notebook. All of these are ways you can look at examples, open recent. These are your recent projects. You can go to your Google Drive to open projects that are directly stored in your Google Drive. You can access your GitHub account from Collab, and you can upload a file from your local machine. These are all the things, the actions you can take. Hmm? Then you can open a new notebook. This is one way to do it. But I didn't use this method. But if I click on it, it will still open a new notebook. That is a valid way of opening a new notebook. But alternatively, I can go to File. File displays all these things as well. That is, if I close this tab and go to File, I can still open it. But let me open it from Notebook since we are here already. So I've clicked on Notebook. It has immediately taken me to a new notebook. Please confirm that you can see. What tab are you seeing now, please? Hello guys, can you hear me?
It's the
Yes,
new
new
notebook.
notebook.
Okay, great. This is the new notebook now. I've opened a brand new notebook. So let me go back to what I was talking about. In in Collab, if you look at the top left corner, there are two small icons, which is the code and the text. Now, this is the foundation. This is what Collab is all about, and that is Jupyter Notebook. Because, like I said, Collab is simply Jupyter Notebook in the cloud. When you start using them, you see that they are both the same thing. In fact, let me open Jupyter Notebook on my local machine to show you. Let me just open it, and while it's running, we'll continue so that when it's fully loaded, I can show you how it works. So Google Colab and Jupyter Notebook are the same, just that one is in the cloud, one is in your local machine. If you're running Jupyter Notebook on your local machine, it relies strictly on the resources on your local computer. So if you have only 4 gig of RAM, your machine will run on only 4 gig of RAM. But look at what Google has done. If you hover over connect, if you hover over this connect icon, hmm, it will show you some details about your connection. Can you see it? Okay, sorry, I've not connected. That is why. So I'm connecting now. I can connect by running a simple command. Yeah, it has connected to my runtime now. Look at what it did. It gave me, it's telling me that I'm connected to a Python 3 runtime, Google Compute Python 3, and I have RAM of 12.68 gig. That is the RAM that is allocated to me. So if I have a local machine of 4 gig, for example, I can run on Collab with the power of 8 with the power of 12 gig. And I also am giving a hard drive of 107 gig. So this is more than enough for me to do what I need to do. It has given me a remote computer that is way more powerful than my local machine and can work, do a lot. And it doesn't end there. I can change my runtime. I can change my runtime. What that means is that there is something called a GPU. GPU computers are damn expensive. For example, gaming systems and some versions of Apple computers runs on GPUs. Those computers are over a million naira. And there are some machine learning projects, there are some coding projects you want to do that needs that kind of GPU, otherwise it will not process, it will not run. It will continue stopping on the way and telling you your memory is not sufficient to run it. Now I can use a GPU. These are all GPU options. This TPU, this T for GPU. These are all GPU options that are available. Now, these ones that are grayed out are paid options. You need to be a paying subscriber. These are extremely powerful GPUs. Yeah. But this GPU is the kind of GPU you can purchase, the kind of system with a GPU that you can purchase for maybe 1.2 or 1.3 million. But instead of going to buy that, you are giving it for free on Colab. Of course, it is restricted. You can't use it indefinitely. Sometimes they'll tell you you have only 6 hours of GPU runtime, you have only 3 hours of GPU runtime. But that is amazing. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool that can allow you to do a lot without having to pay through your nose. And if you're having some serious projects, having gotten all of these beautiful things for free, it's not a bad idea to pay for the kind of GPU instance you want to use. So yes, you can purchase by purchasing additional compute units right here. So that is the advantage and how powerful Google Colab is. Now, I said it has an advantage where you can run code and you can run text. Now, if you want to run code, this is a code cell. I can run a code right now. Let me give you an example of a code. An example of a code will be 100 times. Let me just do a simple mathematical code. 100 times 54. If I run it, it has run. So yes, my compute resource is working perfectly, and this is how it displays. Now, I was talking about the second um, uh, uh, type, the second cell type, which is the text cell type. And I said the advantage that this IDE has over others is that it allows you to write to display both text and code. So if I want to display text, all I need to do is to click on text. I can now comment any comment I wish. Like in this instance, I can say the above code runs a simple mathematical multiplication. So I've run it. This is an explanation of what that code does. So this is just a simple presentation of what it can do, but there's a lot I can still do. I can make my text bold. I can make it capitalized, as in I can make it a title by using this code, using hash before it. It makes my write-up very bold. I can also make it a bold text, not a large text, not a header, but a bold text by simply, sorry, I've removed it mistakenly, find it back. Okay, by simply using two asterisks before and after. So there are rules that guide how you write it. This is called Markdown language. It's also a simple language you need to learn for writing markdowns. Markdowns is simply the technical name for text that are not codes. So this allows you to write a notebook and write a code explanation of the notebook. Now let me do something. Okay, okay. This one has loaded already. Fine, let's do this. I'm sharing this tab. You see what I'm sharing now? Can you see the screen? Can you
Yes.
guys see? Okay, beautiful. This is Jupyter Notebook. Yeah. So let me open something in Jupyter Notebook. Let me open this. Hmm? Now, this is a project that I have already done with markdowns and and everything. Hmm? So yes, it may be looking very complicated, but this is it. This is code. The first cell is in code. The second cell is a code as well. Then there will be markdowns. This is an error. Okay, that's it for this project. So it's not really that helpful to explain what I want to explain. But this is Jupyter Notebook. Hmm? And you can see the difference between Jupyter Notebook and the other one are just minimal. For example, this is the kernel type. It's telling me that it is a Python 3 kernel. It's not telling me the RAM because it has no business telling me that. The RAM is my computer RAM. So it can only do what my computer has the capacity to do and nothing more. Then coming here, there is an option to go to file, there's an option to edit, there's an option for all of these. Then these are the buttons. There is a save file, there is an add cell, there's a cut cell, there is move up, move down, and I can write both text and code. So if I click on add cell, for example, it adds a code cell directly under my um this thing, my under the box that I want to what
Sorry,
that
Prince.
I'm
I think we're not seeing what you're doing.
okay, sorry. This is actually my Jupyter notebook that is displaying here. So you can see it bears striking similarity with the other notebook, which is the notebook in Google Colab. Hmm? So most of the things there are similar. So for example, in this case, in short, let me do something, guys, please. Let me share the entire screen so that as I toggle, you will just see what is on my screen, please. Sorry, let me do that so I wouldn't have to be changing manually. Okay, can you guys see my screen now? Please confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, now anytime I go to a new, can you see as I change my tabs, can you see the new tab?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is what I wanted. So let me just quickly compare between Jupyter Notebook and Google Colab. Let me run a quick comparison. This is Jupyter Notebook. These are the buttons. This saves. This adds a new cell. This cuts a cell. This copies a cell. This pastes a cell. This moves a cell up. This moves a cell down. This runs a cell. This stops a cell while it's running. This reruns or restarts your kernel, and this restarts the kernel and run the whole notebook. Then this is the selector that allows you to select whether you want your cell to be code or markdown. Don't bother yourself with this tool for now. This is just a tool that helps you convert your entire notebook to maybe PDF or something. So you may not bother yourself too much about this for now. Now I'm going to Colab, look at the similarities. This inserts a code and this inserts a text. The only difference is the way that the tools are laid out. I find Colab much cleaner in my opinion, but understand this: Colab is a product that patterned itself after Jupyter. In fact, Jupyter is an open source project, so Colab copied it and adapted it for their use. That is what Colab did. So Colab is actually Jupyter behind the scene. So if you see now, Colab use drop downs extensively. So many things that are independent buttons in Jupyter Notebook are drop downs here. So you see things like locating a particular document from Drive. These are all ways to bring your notebook into the environment. New notebook, open a notebook, upload notebook, rename, move to trash. These are all operations you can carry out on the notebook, down to download and print. Then edit, you can insert cell, undo insert cell, cut cell, copy cell. All of these capacities you had in Jupyter Notebook, you can also do here. Then in view, you can do all of this. You can insert text cell, you can insert code cell, but you can also do that here. But if you want to do it through this way, you can also do that. You can select header cell, scratch code to cell, etc. Then runtime, you can rerun your runtime, you can run all, you can run after. I would explain how all those works. But In short, I wouldn't even bore you guys with all of this. The video content I would share, the content I'll share will explain all of these tools in detail. But just understand that your Jupyter Notebook and Colab are one and the same. The only thing is that your Jupyter Notebook relies strictly on your local machine. So it relies on your RAM and your hard drive to work, while in this case, you can actually use your assigned RAM, which is much larger than what your RAM will be. So it's a much better way to work, more efficient way to work, and it's bonuses that I think no serious programmer should miss. Now let me do something again. Let me actually show you how a fully completed notebook looks like. Hmm? Let me just go to one of my notebooks so that you guys will see how a complete notebook is, and I can use it to show you one or two things about creating notebooks. So in this case, which of these notebooks would be good to use? Let me see. I want something that really showed variation of the things that we can do. Okay, let me use load shot for no stock inventory. Let me use this one. Okay, now this is a project. You can see all the things you can do. This is I actually added this, and notes notebooks never stores anything, so they are always very light. They don't store anything. So anytime you see a content in notebook, a video, a picture, an image, know that they are always calling it up from a different source, so they are really large. Hmm? You will see a notebook. Most of the notebooks are few MBs in size, 3 MB, 2 MB, 1.7 MB, because they contain mainly text. If you open this particular image now that you can see, by the way, you can import anything. You can field a video, you can display a video, you can display images, you can display anything you like. But when you double click it, you would see something. There is no file here. This picture is not here. Instead, this picture is pointing to this URL. This is the URL where the picture exists. So if I copy this URL, for example, and I paste it on my browser, I copy this URL and I paste it on my browser, you will see that it will load. Sorry, that URL did not copy. Control C. I just wanted to show you how it will indeed load. It will load. So this is the URL of this image. Yeah. So Jupyter notebooks do not hold anything. They don't hold information. Google Colab files do not hold information. They point to wherever location that information is hosted. So bear that in mind. It is a concept to know. If you know that concept, it helps you a lot in understanding how things work in Jupyter notebooks. Now, this is the advantage I was talking about. I can explain my project. I started with a problem statement, and I can capitalize, I can make it small, I can use bullet points, I can do all kinds of things. Now, this is the displayed markdown. You display the markdown by running it. Let me open the markdown. This is another beautiful thing about Colab. In Jupyter Notebook, it's not displayed this way. What you see on the left is my write up in markdown, and what you see on the right is the same way, the same write up, how it will display. So if I want a particular line to appear as bold, there's nothing like selecting font size. What I need to do is to use any of the title case provisions, which is one a single hash, double hash, three hashes, depending on the size I want it to be. So if I don't want it to be this big, if I say problem statement is too big, I can add one more hash and it will become smaller. Look at what has happened in the left. If I add yet another hash, look at the column at the left, it becomes smaller again. If I remove the hashes, it becomes bigger. So that is one way I can modify the size. I can say I want problem statement to be bold. If I want to do that, I use a double asterisk. I come to this place and introduce a double asterisk as well. Immediately, problem statement is written in bold case. So it is a language, it is a programming language, unlike how you would just say, let me make something bold. But Google has made it easy by making such provisions. So I can come here, highlight this text, and click on bold. So Colab just introduces those things for me. I can click on italics, and it also does the introduces the markdown code that turns my write up to italics, etc. Hmm? So that is how that works. Is there any question so far for what we've covered, please? And please, am I going too fast or am I going too slow? Hello, guys, can you hear me?
It's fine. It's fine. You're doing
Yeah,
well.
it's fine.
Okay, I don't want a case where I'll be too fast or too slow. And like I said, because we are going all the way, please, we may not be able to cover all the things I was thinking we will cover in this session. We may need to break it and run this session and another session. Yeah, hope that's fine.
Yeah, very
Okay.
well.
Okay, so this is it. We have our data sets. Or this is you can run as much explanation as you like. All of these are explanations, yeah. Then you can see I have introduced bullet points and all of that just to explain what I want to explain. There's something called latex code as well. You use that one to introduce formulas. If you want to write a formula, you use latex code to write the formula. Now, this is a markdown cell that explains a lot about the project. And once you're done, you can now start your coding. The next cell is a code cell. So once you select a code cell, Colab interprets it differently. It interprets this as a code, while it interpreted the one above as a markdown. So hash, for example, in your markdown environment, it means make this text bold. Hash in your coding environment means something totally different. It means ignore this line. Hmm? Ignore this line. This line is just a comment. Don't work on it as a code. It is what is under that are codes. So I will still explain how the coding works. I just want you to understand how Jupyter notebooks and Google Colab works because that is the tool we'll be using. Yeah. So I can run this, it will run. And I can, okay, sorry, I have too many sessions on. I'll have to close some. Okay, let me close this one. I think I'm not using this one again. Okay, great. I'm fine. So it gives you that error when you have run too many sessions. It will tell you you have too many sessions running, so you have to close some. I've closed that one, so it would run. So to recap what we've learned today, um, Google Colab is Jupyter Notebook in the cloud. It's a service by Google, so you need a Google account to access it. So once you open your Google account, you can go to Colab. Yeah. Colab assigns you RAM and assigns you compute space in the cloud, and it makes your work much easier because you can run these codes in a cloud environment and you can run them effectively. That is number two. Number three, Google Colab allows you to run your projects having codes and markdowns, which is explanation cells. Then number four, Google Colab allows you to save your work. As you're working, it saves real time. You don't even need to use any save button. As you're working in Colab, your work is saving automatically and it gets saved to your Google Drive. So all these are beautiful advantages that makes Google Colab to stand out. But it is still very, very important and useful as data scientists to also know how Jupyter Notebook works on your local machine. So are there any questions for now as to how Google Colab works? You can use Google Colab to display pictures, use it to display images, etc. Okay. If there are no questions, please, I would share more materials as regards understanding Google Colab, understanding how Colab works, working with Colab, and all of that. We are not going into coding proper yet. I'm just discussing the tools that we are going to use. Then, secondly, are we familiar with Google Suites? Because that's something we would use frequently. When I say Google Suite, what I'm talking about is Google Drive, Google Sheets, Google Docs, or everything Google. Are we familiar with that, please? Or should I talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I don't mind if you can talk a little bit about that.
Okay, let me just quickly go through that. Now, if you know Microsoft Office, which is the tool that many of us are more familiar with, just think of Microsoft Office, but an alternative to Microsoft Office that is in the cloud. Not only in the cloud that everybody can access. If you're writing on Google Doc, I can access that document. Chris, Jay, and Prince can collaborate on a single document. We can decide that let three of us work on one document at the same time. While you're working on chapter one, I'll be working on chapter two, another person will be working on chapter three simultaneously on the same document, and all of us can read that document. So that is the power of the Google Suite. If you click here, this part of my screen, you see what is here. This is my Google account, and this is the full suite of all the things I can use Google for. Hmm? As you can see, there's Google Calendar, Google Drive. I'll share materials that talks about all of those. We are supposed to split this into multiple sessions. I think we would use this whole week before we start getting technical to familiarize ourselves with these tools is very, very important. This gives us the foundation we need to be able to work going forward. So this is Google Doc. It is the equivalent of Microsoft Word. Hmm? It works exactly like Microsoft Word. Let me open it in a new tab so that we can explore it further. Hmm? This is Google Sheets. It works exactly like Microsoft Excel. Let me open it too. This is Google Slides. It works exactly like Microsoft PowerPoint. Let me open it. For now, let's just access those three. Those are the three main ones that has to do with data. There's Google Forms. All these are all Google tools that are beautiful. You can do wonderful things with them. But for now, let's address these three because that's what we'll be using to collaborate and to share data. Now, in Word, you can open a new document or you can open an existing document. Let me open an existing document so that we'll have some content and context to work from. In this document, this is a product brochure. I can edit it. For example, I can edit it and write anything I want to write, just the way I edit a regular document. It is actually a template, yeah, for me to work with. So I can do everything that I do in a regular document. But in addition to all those things, if I click share, I can add anybody to this document so that that person can have access to the document as well. So, for example, if I want to add, um, let me say I want to add Chris, I'll look for his address. Chris is not in this my Google account, but Generally speaking, I can add anybody to this document, or I can even just simply open up the document. I say anyone with the link. Once I do this and copy the link, let me paste it in our group. So at your leisure, just click that link. It will take you to that document and you can begin to work on the document. You can edit it, you can do all kinds of things, if I give you editing rights. But if I don't give you editing rights, all you can do is to at least view it. You can download a copy for yourself and do whatever you want to do with that copy. So it's a powerful tool for collaboration, because if I and you are collaborating on a project, I'll add you to that project and we will both have editing rights, so we can edit the project. If you go to share, you see here I used viewer. This is the viewer right. I can make someone a commenter, so you still cannot edit the document, but you can make comments on the document and say, I think you should change his to hers. I think you should change they to them. Then if I put you as an editor, you have equal rights like me, which means you can directly edit the document like I can. And that process repeats itself across board for all Microsoft's um, offerings, including Colab. So if you come to Colab in the same light, I can come to share and add somebody as a collaborator, as an editor, or as a commenter, and the person will have the same rights. So you can see the document is restricted, so I can only add people by putting their email. If I make it unrestricted, copy the link and share the link with you, you will be able to do anything I give you the right to do. So that's that about how you can share Microsoft Word. This is Excel, is the equivalent of Excel. Let me open an actual Excel document that is in my repository. This document is an actual Excel document, so you see how it works. And it works just like Excel. I can edit it, I can change things, I can introduce formulas, I can make it calculate stuff. And in addition to all of that, I can share it, I can add people to this document so they can work with the document alongside me, etc. etc. So that is how this works. Like you can say, I can share a copy of it. If I add anyone with viewer access, that person can view this document. If I change the access to editor, the person can edit. If I change it to commenter, the person can comment, and so on and so forth. Then the last tool is Google Slide. Google Slide allows you to create slide decks. So let me give you this one. Let me show you this, for example. This is a slide deck that is built in Google Slide. You can create a slideshow, so I can come here and make a slideshow of it, and we can view it as a slideshow and slide through it, go to different pages of it, etc. Then go to exit if you want to exit it, and so on and so forth. So this is a slide deck. I built this slide deck from scratch in Google Slide. So it works just the way PowerPoint works. So these are tools that we need to be familiar with, because they are tools that we would come to use as we are progressing. It's important to learn how to use this because you can collaborate on this. You don't need to start copying with Flash and sending via email, attaching to email. Just share me on the document and I'll see it. If you want me to just see it, share me as a viewer. If you want me to be able to edit it, you share me as an editor or as a commenter. So that is how work is done in the modern working environment. So these are tools you must get familiar and comfortable with. Other things you will also need to learn is setting up Google Meets, setting up Google sessions, and all of those. Those are things that you have to be familiar with. Manipulating your Google Calendar, and all of this stuff. So I want to believe that you are familiar with this now based on all of this. And remember, your data is mostly coming as Excel spreadsheets and comma separated values. Those are the most popular form of data that you'll be using in our project. So bear that in mind. We are also going to talk about Drive. Yes, very, very important. I didn't talk about that. So let me just quickly talk about it. Google Drive. Let me go to it so that we can see. Google Drive is simply your cloud, your own personal cloud environment, your drive, just as it is named. The way you have your hard drive, that is how you have your Google Drive. Your Google Drive is your own portion of storage online. For example, this is my drive. Let me go into it so that we can share. My drive has everything I've ever saved in this life in my cloud experience. So you see my projects, they are in files. This is the Arcadia project is in a file, Yoti is in a file, Andrew Docs is in a file, collaboratory notebooks is in a file. I can also zip folders and upload them. I can have courses that I can share. I can have all kinds of things, just like I can have in my local machine. Now, everywhere you see something that looks like a head, know that that folder is shared. That folder is not for only me. You see this folder that has this head icon, it's not a personal folder. Now, if I come here, I would get to see who I shared the folder with. For example, if I come here and I go to share, I will get to see the information about who I shared it to. You can see this fellow Murtala Adamu was shared on this folder, and he's an editor. Please, guys, give me a moment, just 1 minute. Hello, guys. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I needed to turn off the Genix out of fuel. I have to refuel it later on. Okay. So, like I was saying, you can see the person I shared this folder with. So, anywhere you see a head icon on a folder, know that that folder does not belong to only me. I've shared it and somebody else has access to that folder. But the ones that are not shared are 100% my folders, and nobody has access to it. Yeah. So I think that is it. Your drive is going to be very, very important because your drive is what allows you to store things remotely. So anything you want to call up in your Jupyter notebook, sorry, in your collaboratory notebook, even in your Jupyter notebook, you have to host them in the cloud, so that you can call them from the cloud. Another difference between Jupyter Notebook and Colab is that while you call up items from cloud sources in Colab, in your notebook you call items from your hard drive. So in Jupyter Notebook you call from your hard drive. In Google Colab you call from the cloud. I think at this juncture we have covered enough for a day. We have covered the entire Google suite, at least the part of it that we will be needing. We've not covered the entire suite, but these are the parts that we'll be needing for the execution of our work. We have also covered collaboratory and how it works, and we have also covered Jupyter Notebooks. So that's reasonable progress for a day. Our time is almost up. After I'm done with this, I'll open the floor for the few questions we may be able to take. This is 9:53. Then the next time we meet, we'll talk about the other tools that we're supposed to discuss today. Meanwhile, I would have given you materials for this. These videos that these recordings usually take time to process. It may take up to 24 hours to process. So please bear with me. You would get the copies of the recording by tomorrow in a maximum of 24 hours. I would share that with us on the group alongside the resources that we're going to use for studies for this particular session. Then our next session, we're going to be discussing Kaggle, we're going to be discussing GitHub, and going to be discussing Zindi. Those are the three tools that we will cover. If we can't cover the whole of those, because if you do not have any exposure to Git can be quite complex. So it might take a full session to explain Git. Then the last two will be the last session. So, but I would really love us to cover all of these things this week so that next week we can hit the ground running. So, thank you so much, guys, for the time. I think at this point, we are open for questions. If there are any questions, please, now is the time to ask. Thank you.
Okay, Prince, thank you very much. Found this on the web. It was very educating. Also, your teaching method is quite receptive. We can easily pick up what you're saying. So I like it. So thank you for tonight. I don't really have a question per se. Uh, I don't know. You said that we may have to do another session to cover up what you initially wanted to do. So is that going to be an addition to the 2 days per week?
Okay. Essentially, we are supposed to have one more session for the week.
Yeah.
So that session, I we can do it this way if this is convenient for us. Let's just trash Git. Let's concentrate on Git. Yeah. Then our free 1 hour, our free consultancy sessions, let's agree that we would use part of that consultancy session to cover Kaggle and Zindi. Those are quite simple. They are just platforms that allow you to be able to use some tools, access some kind of data set, and involve yourself in some kind of practical challenges and projects. So if we agree that we can adopt that, it means that we can avoid having any extra sessions.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Uh, my own side, I have only Sunday uh, on 9 o'clock, except earlier time and all that. So I don't know when it will be okay, even at the 1 hour section, private session that we have, when it's okay to call and or when it's okay to book for that section.
Okay, for me, my time is very flexible because this is what I do. Yeah, I do these sessions and I run my business, my company. So when I have projects, my timelines are very very flexible. For example, I may have a project I need to deliver in 2 weeks or 21 days. So how I manage that 21 days is my business. So that gives me so much flexibility. So on my part, you don't have too much problem. Just tell me the time that is okay for you, so I can fit in. I have that flexibility, but as much as you can, not that you cannot do that, but if you can avoid it, please don't put it in odd hours. Yeah, because for me, I work at night as well. I work, in short, I do lots of work at night, but I like to be, if I can help it, I like to have slept before 9, because what that does for me is that I can wake up by 2 a.m. and do, some productive work at that time. So if you can make that happen, that is fine. But if you cannot, just tell me a time that is okay with you. Tell me this is the time that is fine by me. That is one of the selling points of the project, the flexibility. The goal is that it is to be tailored to suit your your own timing. Yeah. Mm. So you guys just give me feedbacks on the time when you would want to have your one-on-one sessions, and we'll make it happen. Okay, guys, I think this is almost 10 on the dot, 1 minute to 10. Please, also, I would, one of the things I want us to do, if we can, is to honor time. It will really make so much meaning to me and for the project. I really love how you guys came very much on time. If we can be doing that, then I too would respect your time, and 1 hour on the dot will be done with the project and we would have extracted value. Thank you so much, guys, and you have a wonderful night.
All
Thank
right. Thank
you.
you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Good night.
Okay. Good night, everyone.